Here with Coby Rhoden, the recruiting coordinator for your Aldine Mustangs. How you doing this afternoon, Coach?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day. Got all the grades turned in, so everything's looking good. And just got we can start strength and conditioning here in another week. And looking forward to doing all that good stuff.
Well, our topic today is going to be recruiting. And I know that's a specialty for yours, a particular passion. Your work with the Greater Houston Area Senior Showcase to get kids to where they can play at the next level. Let's have that little discussion there. Just start with the real basic stuff. What's the first thing a coach wants to know from you about a particular kid?
It's one of three things. Can they play? Do they have grades? What's their character? So they're going to come in and they're going to ask, hey, you have any kids that can play for me? And then when say, oh, yeah, I got a couple. Okay, well, how are their grades? And so, if they don't have the grades, they're just gone right there. And then after you tell them a little bit more about them, they start telling them they ask about your football character. And so that's when really the personal relationship with the individual coaches really comes into play. How are they in the weight room? Are they respectful? Do they focus on football? And then they want to know all the sizes. There's not too many offensive linemen playing D1 offensive line that aren't taller than 6'2". It's not how good the player is necessarily. It's, do they meet their measurables? And each school is different on their measurables. There's different measurables at a D2 school than there are at a D1 school. There's plenty of 6'1" offensive linemen at D2 schools. So there's not a lot of them at D1 schools.
And it's important to remember that when we're talking recruiting, we're not just talking D1. We're talking D1, D2, D3. We're talking opportunities to play football at the next level for free, for a discount, for whatever, and it's not just D1.
Right, and that's one thing that we try to do at the showcase is, we believe that the only way you can change a kid's life and break the poverty cycle is to take the kid out of his bad situation and then support him in a new situation. So a football locker room at Madison High School looks a lot like a football locker room in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. And so, that's how we believe that we're going to break the poverty gap with some of these kids and really change their lives. We send them off to middle of nowhere, Kansas, and at a great D3 school or NAIA school. And then there's systems and supports in place so that they can support those kids. And so then, I deal with a lot more D3 and NAIA coaches than I do anybody else. And with the D3 NAIA coaches, it's mostly they want to know if they have any players that aren't being recruited. And then number two is they want to ask for their grades. And number three, they want to know if they filled out their FAFSA. I mean, there's still a lot of paperwork process. Coach Camp and I always joke around that it's easier to get a kid a full scholarship to the University of Texas than it is to get a kid a full scholarship to Texas Lutheran. The University of Texas, they sign one spot and then they're done, or maybe two spots. Texas Lutheran, you got to fill out the housing application, the scholarship application. You might have to do a scholarship interview. You might have to do all sorts of, there's 5 or 6 applications. That's just for Texas Lutheran. If you're looking at 5 or 6 other schools, there's 5 or 6 other paperwork processes. And so, paperwork's always one thing that gets kids kind of upset, and they see their buddy that signed D1 and he just had to sign his name once time, and it's not really like that. I mean, you got to go and be a real college student regardless of what sport you're going to play at the D3 NAIA level.
Yeah, and it's important. You can't wait till the spring semester of your senior year to get started on that stuff. You need to start your sophomore year, your junior year. The parents and the kid need to start preparing for that then.
Right, especially grades wise. I mean, you can't just decide you want to start making good grades at the end of your senior year. I mean, what we found out with the showcase is a lot of kids were thinking that Kevin Sumlin or Jimbo Fisher, whoever was going to fly in on their helicopter on signing day and offer them. They don't realize that they're not a D1 kid until, after signing day. And that's why the showcase works out so well is, that they had that coming to Jesus moment a bit earlier than they usually do.
Okay. If you don't mind, go through a couple of do's and don'ts if you're seeking to be recruited or seeking to play at the next level.
The biggest thing right now is grades. If you just decide that you like the smell of chlorine in your hair and you want to be a swimmer in college, then, if you can find a place to go be on the college swim team, if that's your desire, and you get a lot of it paid for if you have good grades. And so then what I tell the kids all the time is like, it's as long as you have a desire to play and grades, you can play, you can be a college athlete regardless of your sport. Now, kids have Division I delusions of grandeur where they want to go and play D1. It's D1 or bust mentality. And, that's half my battle is getting kids, hey, you're a 5'7" point guard. You're not playing D1 basketball. It's one of those things where you got to have real serious conversations with them. But I would say, number one is grades. Number two is grades. Number three is grades as what's most important. When dealing with showcase kids and their parents, I want to play sports in college. Well, in reality, what that translates to is I want a full athletic scholarship to play Division I sports at a school of my choice. There's a big difference between those two. I mean, it's real easy to play sports in college. It's almost genetically impossible to play Division I sports at a state school, on a full athletic scholarship.
As I've said, if you're good enough to start at a high school in Texas and you have the grades, you can play D3. You can play D3 sports just about anywhere.
Yep, as long as you have a good set of luggage, you can play anywhere, and that goes for any sport. I mean, some of these schools. Some of the schools come to showcase. They have 1,100 kids in their entire campus. I mean, most high schools in our area in the Houston area have more kids than that. And so then, half the kids on campus are playing college athletics, and they just, it's a lot more intertwined. And, part of the problem is down here in Houston, we don't have a lot of D3 schools. I mean, most kids can't name 5 D3 schools in the state of Texas. So, it's just a lot more common up there. And so they understand about the process more, and they're more educated, not so much more educated, but just are made aware of the opportunities a lot more than here.
All right. So this year's been strange all the way around. We did get in the senior showcase just before the world went crazy, but it's really cutting down the ability of the college coaches to go to spring practices and go see the kids in person. Have you seen any impact from that?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely not there. I mean, some of the football coaches are getting real giddy because, the new coach at Baylor is doing a Zoom, and all the coaches, high school coaches, are invited, and like the new linebacker coach or Coach Bell or somebody's up there doing a presentation on it. So all the coaches are still. So I think that's really how they're keeping up that relationship part with the high school coaches. Is they're saying, all right, the Tulsa quarterback coach is going to be doing a Zoom. Any high school coach that wants to continue in and like do a virtual clinic, which I think that's been really, really neat. I've kind of snuck in on a couple of those to go and watch some of those, just, looking at some of the things. I think that's how they're keeping up the relationship part. And then on the D3 NAI level, they've done a lot more virtual junior days and tours and that sort of thing, where they have a admissions clerk there. They have somebody in financial aid and that sort of thing, so they can kind of streamline the process all at once. Hey, so now you don't have to drive up to Iowa. You can just go to their junior day and kind of see a virtual tour and talk to the coaches, talk to the position coaches and that sort of thing. It's kind of neat on one side what technology is doing, but, on the other side, they need to be able to see the campus and that sort of thing. And, they need to realize how cold it is in Iowa and that sort of thing before they move up there. But, I think the coaches, the college, the D1 coaches are doing really good. And one AA coaches are doing really good with the virtual Zooms to just keep up those relationships and then talk about people and talk about their players. And, I think the high school coaches have really reflected well on that. And, I'm just kind of worried about some of these kids, what type of shape are they going to be in? I mean, half the kids are turning in their online workout plans and the other half aren't. And so that's going to it's going to be interesting with those first couple of days of SAC here next week.
One last topic, if you don't mind. Touch a little bit on the use of social media and the benefits and the dangers there for someone's seeking to be recruited.
It's a weird double-edged sword. One social media, like, you need it to really break in, but then it can really break you out of the whole recruiting process if you do something wrong on social media. If you wouldn't want to show your grandmother what you wrote on social media, don't put it on there. I mean, that's as simple as I can make it. There's plenty of kids that look just like you, and that these colleges are recruiting, especially at the 1AA and D1 level. And if you do something wrong, they're gonna get you out of it. I tell all my kids, what college coaches really want to see? They want to see, like, you doing the bench press. They don't want to see you. They want to see you working out at 6 a.m. They don't want to see you, partying with your friends at 3 a.m. That's what you need to be putting on your Twitter. I told my son, he's in 7th grade. I was like, what your Twitter handle is going to be? It's going to be put all the bench presses on there and just do nothing but have that one. They're having like 2 social media accounts, one where it's just all about football that they just show their high school coach and their and the college coaches, and then they're putting one out, and then they have one out there with all their little friends, and so that they can go and do crazy things on that social media, and that kind of just reference from a high school coach. But if y'all don't think, if the kids don't think that people aren't checking out their social media before they offer them, then they're sadly mistaken. I mean, it's not quite like NFL background checks, but anybody with half of a social media brain can go and get a pretty good character judgment on a kid, just by reading their Twitter accounts and what they're favoriting and what they're following and Instagram and everything else. So, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, and but like going out and getting recruiting. I mean, these kids are doing so well in their huddle films and everything else that they're showing these coaches. And coaches, once one school, from XYZ college. And so then it's funny, once they get that first offer from that school in that conference, every other school in that conference is going to offer them. Within like a week, then they'll have at least 5 more offers from schools at the D3 level and NAIA level. And, it's kind of that same way. It's a little bit that same way on the D1 level. Once a couple other colleges offer, and then the other colleges feel comfortable offering, or I don't know. I mean, I wish coaches would kind of use their own eyes and their own metrics as opposed to saying, else. Like I said, Twitter's a double-edged sword, and it's not going anywhere. So you might as well learn to embrace it.
All right. Well, Coach, thank you very much for your time today, and definitely hope to hook up with you later on, and hopefully we can get back to and have the senior showcase again next year.
Absolutely, we'll have some dates soon. I'll put it out on Twitter, and I know you'll do a great job retweeting. You're always very helpful. I appreciate you very much.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, bye.